Brian Besh's wedding was quite an event. welcome everyone here. My name is Brad Butler. I'm honored to be moderating tonight's candidate forum for the 2022 Livingston Independent School District election. We want to thank Pine Ridge Primaries PTO for sponsoring tonight. I've asked Mallory Lester, who is the student body president at Livingston High School, to open us in prayer.
Let's pray together. Dear God, I thank you for the opportunity to gather here tonight, and I thank you for a school system that cares so much about the well-being of its students. I pray that each of these candidates would be led by you tonight, and that your hand would be on all of them as they aim to make our school better. Help us to worship you, here and in all things, through our words and our deeds. We know that your will be done, and we thank you that your peace and provision are with us always. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Okay, we want to welcome everyone who is here joining us live at the Florence Crosby Auditorium, as well as those who are joining us virtually. We also want to thank our candidates who are offering themselves up for public service. As a community, we are so fortunate to have 8 qualified candidates who are seeking a better future for our most precious resource, our students. Voters have the option of voting for any number of candidates from 0 to 4, and the 4 highest vote getters will be elected to the LISD Board of Trustees. Our candidates tonight are seated by ballot order that was determined by blind draw prior to the August 31st meeting of the Board of Trustees. The order of candidates on the ballot will be Andrew Boyce, Kevin Grimm, Kevin Wooten, Chris Molman, John Whiteside, Marty Drake, Cynthia Rios-Thomas, and Mandy Murphy-Pipes. Our format for tonight will be as follows. Round 1, each candidate will have up to 4 minutes to offer an opening statement. We would ask in this statement that you introduce yourself to the voters and also explain why you are running for this position. In round 2, I will offer 1 question that will be answered by each candidate. You will have up to 3 minutes to answer. Don't worry, we'll go over this again as we go through. In rounds 3 and 4, we will have 2 rounds of questions that will be answered uniquely by each candidate. These questions are not candidate specific, but are rather issues deemed important across the board. The questions were written and randomly assigned to each of you in the interest of fairness. You will have 3 minutes to answer. And finally, in round 5, each candidate will have an opportunity to offer a closing statement. You may use this time to summarize points that you have already made or offer input on a question that another candidate was asked. You'll have up to 5 minutes in this final portion. I will prompt you with a 1-minute warning should you approach that time limit, as well as a "that's time" should you reach the maximum. Okay, everybody take a deep breath. And now we'll begin round 1. You will have up to 4 minutes to offer an opening statement. I would ask in this statement that you introduce yourself to the voters and also explain why you are running for this position. And Mr. Boyce, we'll start with you. Yes, please. Excuse me just a second, Mr. Boyce. Would you turn that microphone on? No, you're good, man. You're good. You're good.
Check. It's good now? Okay. All right, my name's Andrew Boyce. I live here in Livingston. I graduated from Livingston ISD in 2008. I went off to school at East Texas Baptist in Marshall and graduated in 2012. When I came back to town, I wanted to be in sports management, and I was waiting on a placement in grad school. And while I was here working at Polk County Abstract, my coach called me back and said, "Hey, have you ever thought about being an educator and coming back and coaching?" And I thought about it and finished up my accounting course that I needed at Angelina, did not reapply, came back, jumped the ship, and worked there for 3 years. And I was a special education teacher and coach. After that, times changed. I married my wife, and we were pregnant with our first son, and I left education and joined my family's business. It's been a blessing for me, a blessing for my dad, and I felt like that's where I needed to be, and working in the private sector was always something that interested me, and that's what I do currently. Livingston means a whole lot to me. It's where I chose to live. It's where I chose to come back to. And these kids and the education that I received here and the education my kids will receive here is important. And, working in this area and working with a lot of Polk Countyans, Livingston ISD graduates, it's important to have an educated Livingston. And, LISD could be the most consistent environment that a lot of kids in our community have. And delivering on that consistency would be retaining our teachers, supporting them in the classroom, and giving these kids a place that they can come that they know is a stable environment. I know I was fortunate here in 2008 that when I came back every year, I knew who was going to be my English teacher. I knew who was going to teach me science. I knew who was going to be my gym teacher. And when I worked here in 2012, I didn't feel the same way about it. Never did until I left. And I always thought it was so important with being close to these kids to know how a consistent environment is so important to them. When they come to school, it could be the only meal they get, could be the only the only positive reinforcement they receive, and that's how important it is to a lot of these kids here in this environment. I believe in furthering these kids' education. If you look at the stats, the state average for kids that are going to college or going to the work program is 60%. Here in Livingston right now, it's 35%. I know that they're working on to get us 60 hours where you graduate with an associate's degree, which is a great plan. And I know the board is committed and the superintendent's committed to doing that. And, I think getting on the board and supporting that dream and pushing that forward, and like the board has done, is something I want to continue. And sending these kids either to a career or sending them to a university is important. That's all I've got. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Grimm.
My name's Kevin Grimm. I'm a Livingston High School graduate in 1996. I went on to the Marines after high school. After the Marines, I graduated with a business degree from Sam Houston in 2006. Probably felt like at the time, to go work in the business world in the Houston market. Me and my wife decided, on our honeymoon that we decided to want to raise our kids here in Livingston, where we were raised. So had to adjust, plan A. Got into EMS. I was fortunate enough to be able to have the opportunity to start my own EMS company. And now living here in Livingston, wanting to give back, like Andrew said, to the community that chose to educate me. I would love to provide, a safe work environment for teachers, for kids. There is a problem with kids who, this might be their only meal. They might not have running water at home. There's numerous amounts of things that can be affecting them. So I believe in building dreams for them, letting them pick where they want to go in life, and then I think the education will follow when they dreams, So if they want to be an astronaut, they're going to learn math, Whereas I think it's not quite the turnaround to try to teach them math, hoping that they're going to want to be an astronaut. So I think through programs, the leadership that I'll be able to provide, that I've learned, would definitely assist in that.
Mr. Wooten.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you for moderating this, and I just want to thank everybody here on the stage for taking the time to do this and offering up their potential service on the board. It's great to have this many people that care that much about our kids. But really, three things. First, my name is Kevin Wooten. I am a current board member, and there's three things I want to really talk about to explain, why I'm here and why I want to continue to serve on the board. First is the fact that I'm a Livingstonian as well, just like everybody else. I moved here in the 6th grade, grew up here, took life's travels after high school, but always came back. My wife, Emily, she's lived here her whole life. Our daughter goes to the high school here. So it means a lot. This community means so much to me and our family. And that may be the most fundamentally important thing about it. The second thing is my own journey through life. I have a unique journey. I come from a family that was very smart but uneducated, and so I understand the struggles of people who don't really understand the education process. Both my parents read all the time. I saw them read, but neither one of them graduated high school. I was the first in my family to go to college, the first in my family to graduate from college. So I kind of understand and see both sides of those students that struggle to really take advantage of the educational opportunities that are provided, and then those that have I won't say easier opportunity, but they understand the process better, maybe because of their parents or the people that are around them in their church or whoever. But so I think my experience in that kind of gives me a unique perspective to view all students in a light where they can all be successful. And the third thing is that my service on the board. I've served one term on the board, and it has been the most rewarding experience that I think I've ever done, because you can see just in the day-to-day, sometimes it's just day-to-day mundane things that don't seem important, but when you package it all together and you see all the things that we can provide our students, all the dual credit, all the CTE programs, the meals, every child eats breakfast and lunch for free. There are so many things that I can think of that just made my service on the board so rewarding, and all I want to do is just continue to do that, continue to help in any way I can these kids to reach their dreams, just like Kevin said, reach their dreams, because they all have dreams. And thank you, and I'll pass it along.
Don't let me worry you with the 1 minute warning. So continue, finish your thoughts if you need to. Mr. Molman.
I'm Chris Molman. I graduated here in 2004. I was lucky enough to move here in 5th grade and been here ever since then. I have two kids that graduated high school and currently a freshman in high school now. The community I've served here after high school, I went to Angelina College for a little while to get a fire science degree, and I thought I wanted to be a fireman until I realized they didn't pay well. So I decided to do something different in life. But the reason for the school board is the one thing that means more than anything to me is the safety of the kids in schools. Whether it's here or wherever it is, our kids got to be safe. They got to feel safe when they come to school. Every school has done a bunch especially since Uvalde last year. And we noticed that the day when you came here, you couldn't come in the building until we had a guy escort us in. So every school, including this one's done good, but there's always ways to improve that, no matter what it is. The second thing is the recruitment and retention of teachers. The more you train teachers, the more money it costs. If you can recruit them, retain them here every year, they come back each year, you save money. And like the other one said, you know your teachers. Your kids know your kids' teachers. It makes it easier every year when you know who's going to be there next year. And the main thing, the last thing that's important to me is the communication between the school board, and the administration with the public. We got to be transparent with each other no matter what goes on. They do a good job now, but there's always ways to improve how you communicate with the public and what's going on, what can happen next, and the next actions going on in the school district.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Whiteside.
Hello, my name is John Whiteside. I've been here for about 15 years now.
You're good.
Hey, you did that for me. Thanks. I'm like the rest of the candidates. I'm not from here. I didn't graduate from here, but I've been here long enough to watch. When I did come here, my oldest was 3, and my other son was 2. Now they're 17 and 16. So I've been able to watch them grow up through the school district. Now I have 3 other ones that are in the in school now, and I've watched how much this place has improved. The school district has improved. Things have continue to roll forward. We're not where we want to be, but we're not where we used to be either. And so because there's been a huge uphill battle for this school district, I think, where we want to come from is I think we want to continue to support our kids and support their safety and support them continuing to learn and do better than have more than what I had whenever I was in school. And I see where we are getting there, and we got a lot of things that we want to improve on, but we're doing good. So I want to continue to stand behind our kids and continue to stand behind our teachers, most importantly, because honestly, it was a teacher that got me through school, that decided that I was worth spending the time on to help get me through some of the hardest times in my life. And I believe that it is important to continue to do that. Continue to be behind our school district and the ones who run it. And I believe being on the school board would be a very important role to play to be able to keep that moving forward.
Mr. Drake.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank everybody for being here tonight. If you're here and you have not decided who you're going to vote for on the 8th, on November 8th, I hope that's after tonight I earn your vote. My name is Marty Drake. I'm a lieutenant with the Livingston Police Department. I have 26 years of law enforcement experience. A little bit less than 13 of those years was spent as a school-based officer at Livingston Junior High. I think with my experience, there's no one else on the stage, in my opinion, that has more knowledge about student and school safety than I do. I'd like to point that out. I'm married to Rachel Drake. We have 4 children, Darian and Drew, John Tucker, and Sully Drake. Apart from myself, Rachel and my kids were all educated here in Livingston ISD. I just got here as fast as I could. I've served on the Livingston ISD School Board for 8 years. I know what it's involved being a school board member, and I'm committed to continuing to serve the students and the parents of Livingston ISD. During the time that I've been on the board, the starting salary for teachers was $36,000 in 2014. This year in 2022, the starting salary went to $55,000. We also voted to pay for dual credit hours for high school students attending Angelina College. The district paid $300,000 a year starting in 2015. As of date, that's $2.1 million that the district has paid to our high school students to gain college credit hours at no expense to them or their families. We also voted for Livingston ISD students to receive free lunches and free meals. I know that earlier several of the candidates talked about some of these students don't have a lot to eat and only eat 1 or 2 meals a day. We stepped up as a board and made that decision where they're getting 2 meals a day. Even in the summertime, there is a school that's open where those students can come and get a meal. I hope to continue to serve on the board and focus on school and student safety, teacher retention, and giving every student at Livingston ISD an opportunity to succeed. Again, my name is Marty Drake. I want your vote, and I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We now have a statement from Cynthia Thomas, who is unable to be in attendance tonight. Regrettably, I'm unable to be in attendance as my husband has planned our 10-year anniversary trip for us. My name is Cynthia Thomas, and I've been a resident of Polk County for 39 years. I have enjoyed and am proud to have lived and worked here my entire life. One of the many reasons I've chosen to run for school board is to be able to give back to my community that has given so much to me. My husband Russell and I have 2 children, Brian, who graduated from LISD in 2022, and Grace, who is in the 4th grade, attending Cedar Grove Elementary. My husband Russell Thomas graduated from LISD in 1995, and I graduated from LISD in 2001. We take pride in being former Lions and believe in the LISD school district. My husband and I own a local business, Thomas Supply, which has been a part of this community for 42 years. I have a vested interest in this community and the education of our children. School security, future curriculum, and teacher retention are some of my key reasons for running. I care about each and every child in this district, and I look forward to working with other school board members and school administration. I would appreciate your vote, and I'm excited about the chance to serve LISD. I'm planning on having a meet and greet at the Bull Shack on October 4th from 8 a.m. till 10 a.m., and would love to discuss any questions or concerns regarding our school district. I want to hear from you. Respectfully, Cynthia Thomas. Ms. Pipes.
Hello, I am Mandy Murphy Pipes, and I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you to all of you for showing up this evening. I, too, am a proud graduate of Livingston ISD, having gone to school here from kindergarten through 12th grade, so born and raised right here in Polk County. My family, I have my husband, Brandon Pipes, who I met in high school right here in this building. We have two children, Carson, who is a sophomore at Livingston High School, and Carly, who is currently playing in a volleyball game at the junior high. She is in 7th grade. My family, I am the daughter of Tommy and Denise Murphy of Livingston. I'm really proud of the deep Polk County roots that my family has put down here. Upon graduation, Carson stands to be the 5th generation of Murphys to graduate from Livingston High School. So we're going to cross our fingers. It looks promising, so no pressure, Carson. But, we've been around here for quite some time. After graduating from Livingston High School, I moved on to Texas A&M University and graduated there before moving home quickly to marry my high school sweetheart and start our lives together. We had our two wonderful children, built our forever home, and then were informed that, we may need to be moving for some work opportunities in Brazos County. When you work in the oil and gas industry, as many of you may, it's pretty unpredictable. But as soon as we had the opportunity to move back here and get our kids back to where our home is, we took that quickly. I've always been passionate about public education and advocating for all children. I'm a former public school teacher for 11 years, and I've had the privilege to work with students from varying populations, general ed, special ed, English language learners, even gifted and talented students. I've worked with age ranges from pre-K through 4th grade. As a teacher, I had many leadership roles throughout my career. I was a grade level leader for many years, even at the campus level, working on the campus improvement team. At the district level, writing curriculum that 10 elementary schools still use to this day. The classroom will always have my heart, but I just feel led to lead my background and experience into more of a leadership role. I've always had a see a need, fill a need attitude, and I plan to take that with me if elected to the school board. I want to use my unique perspective as someone who's been in the front lines. I've implemented decisions made by this board. I can tell you which ones are practical and which ones are not. With that knowledge, I think that I would be a valuable asset to the school board, and I would appreciate your vote on November 8th.
Thank you all. We are now going to move to round 2. I'm resetting my watch here for 3 minutes. Here we'll ask a question that will apply to everyone, and you will have up to 3 minutes to answer. And Mr. Grimm, we'll begin with you. We'll go all the way to the end, and we'll come back to you, Mr. Boyce. Question: what have you done to positively impact LISD in the last 12 months? Mr. Grimm.
I believe in helping kids. I'm a boots on the ground type mentality guy. I mowed the youth football field this morning. I take numerous roles for mentoring students when and where I can. I give both of my time and financially to kids in need, whether it's a sporting event, like I said, a kid who needs his water turned on. I paid water bills. I take an active role at First Baptist Church, helping kids. Small group leader. I coach multiple sports. I see the need for a youth golf organization. I started a youth golf organization with the help of some others. So again, I'm kind of a boots on the ground guy. You know, when there's something to be done, whether it's mowing a field or giving what you can, I do it.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Wooten, the same question. What have you done to positively impact LISD in the last 12 months?
Well, I'm unique in that not only am I on the board, I teach some of the high school students. I work for Angelina College as a history instructor, and I teach the dual credit students who take dual credit history classes. And that really is a great joy for me because I get to see firsthand the benefits of what the kids get from the decisions we make on the board. And so that's first and foremost. I get to stand in front of them and see them and watch them and enjoy watching them learn. Sometimes enjoy watching them like history. Sometimes maybe not, but the other way that I've served is, of course, on the school board. I ran 8 years ago and didn't make it, but I was so dedicated and intent on serving that I ran again, and luckily enough, I won. And I've been grateful for that whole opportunity to with the other members of the board and Dr. Hawkins to make very, very impactful decisions that we believe have really helped our students and helped this district. I mean, just probably the most important thing, and I believe somebody else up here mentioned it, was the retention of teachers. We are one of the very few schools in the entire state that began this season or this school year fully staffed. We had every teacher position filled, and that was a conscious effort by the board and the administration to make sure that happened. And so it's things like that, because having a good teacher to student ratio, as a couple of people mentioned, knowing that your teacher will be there from one year to the next. Teacher retention is so important.
1 minute.
Am I finished, or go ahead?
You got 1 minute.
1 minute.
Keep
okay.
going, my friend.
It's so important, and of course, when you can do that, when you do happen to have a teacher leave, you have the ability to really be picky and choose to hire for their replacement true quality teachers. So and of course the having consistency of administration too. So my service on the board, I think, in trying to promote those types of positive actions is how I best served as I could. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Molman.
In the last 12 months, the first thing I would think is everybody up here has made the commitment to run for the school board this year. Every one of us made that decision to try to better the schools. Also, in our little volunteer fire department, we have a junior program that the LISD kids go to. And this last May, one of our kids graduated from Livingston High School and went on to the military and graduated basic training last week. We help keep them going and promote them and push them and try to make them a better person, whether it's in education or the armed forces. In the last 3 years, we've had 2 of them go to the armed forces from here in the fire department, so they're continuing to serve our country today, so it helps too. Other thing I did in the last 12 months is shuttle kids back and forth to practice or games, or feed them after school before the game, or make sure they get to the youth program at the church or home from games, and whatever the kids ask to do, we do them, whether it's our kids or the neighbors' kids or friends. Whatever you got to do to help each other kid out, so we do it around our house for the kids at school. So that's what we do.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Whiteside, what have you done to positively impact LISD in the last 12 months?
Well, first of all, I get my 5 kids up every morning and make sure their teeth are brushed, their hair is combed, and I send them to school. That's one of the first things I think is important for all parents to understand, that if they get their kids to school, it helps our district. Just because they're signed up in this district doesn't mean that it takes a load off of us as a parent. We have to get our kids up and ready and get them into school, because there's not much that the district can do for our kids if they're not present and accounted for. Also, we had mentioned the food program here a while back. I forget which one of y'all said it, but in my neighborhood, I make sure that there are several kids around. We would pick up food for neighboring kids, making sure that all the kids, even if they couldn't make it, they got some food from the food program for the district, and that's something that I think that is important, to make sure it's not just me and my 4, or it's more than 4, but to make sure all of the ones that are around me, everybody I come in contact with, is provided with everything that they could possibly need to be safe, comfortable, and well taken care of, so that we can learn and continue to forward our district, our city.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Drake, same question. What have you done to positively impact LISD in the last 12 months?
For the last 12 months, I think I want to change it a little bit. I think I've been positively impacting Livingston ISD and the community of Livingston for the last 20 years. When I started as a school officer in 2001, there's some people in the audience that are now having babies of their own that still come in and say, "Hey, Officer Drake," or I tell them, "Call me Marty. You're a mother now. You're here. You're a voter." So in 2001, I was asked to coach Special Olympics. So I started, and I feel like impacting kids in Livingston ISD in 2001 when I started coaching Special Olympics. I still coach Special Olympics to this day. Then going over 20 years of coaching Special Olympics with special needs kids that go to school at Livingston ISD. I'm involved in so many different organizations, from the Polk County Go Texan. They give $40,000 worth of scholarships to students of Polk County, which includes Livingston ISD, to the Karen Coward Memorial Scholarship. It's a police department scholarship. They gave $14,000 worth of scholarships to Livingston High School students last year. To Designer Purse Bingo, I know all the ladies know about that. That benefits the Polk County Higher Education and Technology Foundation. I coordinate Shop with a Cop every December. We started Shop with a Cop with Walmart. Last year we took 60 kids, including Livingston ISD kids, along with other kids from the county, shopping with a police officer to build that relationship with a police officer. And we take each kid through the... Do I need to start all over? Because did everybody hear me? Was I talking loud enough?
You're good.
So the Shop with a Cop program, where we had 60 kids last year and 60 officers. I'm a board member on the Children's Haven organization here in Livingston that counsels physically and sexually abused children. I've coached all my kids in softball and baseball through the last 20 years. Darian is 25, graduated from A&M. Drew's in A&M. John Tucker's playing baseball. Sully played softball last year. And now I'm coaching with kids that I used to coach. I look across there and say, "Hey, Officer Drake." I said, "No, you can call me Marty." Some of the kids I coach are coaching my kids. I see guys that are out there smiling at me that I stopped on traffic for tickets and let them go, that I'm glad I did nowadays. Well, don't put your head down. It's okay. I just see you out there. So I think that I've made connection and impacted Livingston ISD for the last 20 years, not just the 12 years. But I'll go with Kevin. Also, being on the school board, the last 2 years have been great. How many do what?
I'm sorry, that's time. But you did a great job. That's
all right. Thank you.
All of you guys are doing a fantastic job. Ms. Pipes, the same question. What have you done to positively impact LISD in the last 12 months?
Okay, I'm going to piggyback off of Marty just a smidge. My children are a little bit older now, but I have coached them in multiple sports. Some sports I didn't even know how to play, but I learned. I signed up, put myself out there, and was there for multiple children in City League sports. I've taught vacation Bible schools multiple summers in a row, and when you're a teacher all year long, you got to dig deep to go out there and teach during the summer. But I've done that. I feel like that was some way I could contribute there. I also taught my son's confirmation class, which is a 6-month program through the Methodist Church that they go through, and they need one consistent mentor. And so I volunteered myself for that. Over the last 12 months, these are specific things that I've done in that period. I was a 3rd grade ELA teacher at Cedar Grove Elementary. If you've never been a teacher or been married to one, you may not know what all that entails, but it's a lot more than you would think. Not only did I take care of my responsibilities, but I saw a need, and my sister and I decided to fill it. The GT program was lacking. We decided that we were going to create a pull-out program on our off time. As a teacher, you don't have a lot of off time, so giving up that was quite substantial. We pulled 1st graders through 3rd graders who had previously qualified for the Gifted and Talented program, and we immersed them in project-based instruction. We also saw a lack for art in our school. We don't have an art class. And so our first big fundraiser and fund project was to host the first annual Christmas card contest for the entire school. And so the kids solely put on by the children, and they really just thrived and really got so excited and really ran with it, made posters, and it was really a neat experience to watch. Students from all age groups and all grade levels submitted cards. They were voted on by the students.
1 minute.
The 1st, 2nd, and 3rd place cards were then mass produced and delivered to the community. I believe that community and school partnerships is really important. It's a relationship that we need to restore as a district, and so we were trying to do that. One other thing that I did this past year is to provide Christmas gifts for one needy child from for my personal class, but from Cedar Grove, and also advocate for a student to rightfully earn a service that he deserved through TEA guidelines that he hadn't been getting the past couple of years. It was the first time that this school had allowed that to happen, so I was really proud of that impact and that innovative forward thinking.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Boyce, same question. What have you done to positively impact LISD in the last 12 months?
First, say thanks to my wife here. I'm sorry I introduced you when I first spoke, but and my son Carson, I know you wanted to hear your name. Hey, buddy. And my son Brooks is somewhere in the halls with his pop. So, well, I've been a dad since 2016. Other than my involvement working for Livingston ISD from 2012 to 2015, when I left, I kind of moved my focus until I had kids and started to see hey, we're going to be in youth sports here pretty quick. Turn around, we're going to school, we're graduating kindergarten, and you become a little pushed to become involved. Prior to that, I've always liked working with kids. That's why I wanted to be a coach and educator. And I found an opportunity to serve on the Boys and Girls Club board. I was at a gala, and Cole Puckett came up to me and said, "Hey, man, I just got on this board, and we're impacting kids over here, and these guys go to Livingston." He said, "I think you'd be great to do it." And I made a phone call that night, and I said, "Hey, what can I do to get on this board?" He said, "Hey, man, we're looking for anybody who's willing to help." So that's kind of how it goes. If you're willing to do it, they're going to sign you up. So that was my first chance to really see the kids come in an after-school program, a place where they could come and get tutoring. They could get a ride. They could play together. A place to go when their parents are at work, and to see kids have a safe place to go. And that was my first experience really with these kids in Livingston, other than coaching and teaching them. And then now I raise one. Now I've got a first grader, and trying to keep him on green all week is a chore within itself. We're getting better. We have a couple of bad days, a couple of good days, but I hope that Miss Jordan knows that we're working really hard at home with Carson and sending him to school with a good attitude. And I hope his impact on her and his school is positive of our household. You
1
know, when
minute.
Carson started playing sports, I coached youth baseball for the first time this year. This is his first time in t-ball. When I go to the Lions games on Friday nights, I see all those kids, and you know, it really means something when they remember your name and they come up to you and say, "And you're always coach." And you know, I can say that about the older kids when I coached here. When me and my wife go places, we go to the grocery store, anywhere we go, they come to me, Coach Boys, Coach Boys. And you know, we don't talk about school anymore. We talk about life. We talk about, hey, what are you doing? Are you trying to sell me solar panels? Are you trying to sell me health insurance? But you know, we always turn the conversation on something positive, and you know, and hope I made an impact in them, and I feel like I have. And you know, this is my opportunity to get back involved in this school and get back involved in these kids, from you know, and able to continue my career outside of a school. So thanks.
Thank you, sir. We will now move to round 3. These questions will be only asked of one candidate, and we drew them from a pool of questions, and they were randomly assigned. You will have 3 minutes to answer. I'd also like to remind you, if you would like to offer input on a question that you are not asked, there will be time to do so in round 5. Mr. Wooten, we'll begin with you. What is a major issue you believe LISD is currently facing, and how would you like the district to deal with this issue? Let me ask the question again. What is a major issue you believe LISD is facing currently, and how would you like the district to deal with this issue?
Well, I think the issue that's facing LISD and basically every school district in the United States is ensuring that all the kids are safe. I mean, you have to start from there as the number one priority in any time you're going to have a school. And while we've done a lot of things to really ensure that our kids are safe, cameras are everywhere, high quality cameras. The doors have secure locks. We have an officer on every single campus. That was just a new thing for this year, but it's something that is a continuous process. That people that want to do bad things will find a way, or they'll try to find a way to do it. And so it's an ever evolving process of ensuring that the kids are safe, and while they're safe, also that they can still learn, that they're not in fear, and you want to make it a good environment, a fun environment, a learning environment, while also keeping them safe. And that's a juggling act a lot of times, because when you have your your drills and things like that, that just puts into their head the potential of what could happen. But they're necessary, and having our kids prepared for unfortunate events that might occur, and keeping them safe in the process of that that's paramount. And while it's maybe not a new issue, it's an ongoing issue that's going to exist from here on out.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Molman, could you support a board decision you did not vote in favor of? Why or why not? In other words, how would you handle differences of opinion among board members? Let me ask the question again. Could you support a board decision that you did not vote in favor of? Why or why not? In other words, how would you handle differences of opinion among board members?
Yeah, everybody has to agree to disagree. You won't always agree with everybody, no matter what's going on. Prior to coming here, we have meetings at our fire department that we agree and disagree on. And you support each other, whether you lose or you don't lose. When you leave that meeting, that's over with. You got to start a new day tomorrow. You can't reflect back every day on what you didn't get yesterday. Everybody won't always get what you want, but you have to agree anyways. There's times now that we can have a meeting and disagree on stuff, but 10 minutes later we're out there shaking hands. It just happens to us before the meeting started. If everybody always agrees, there's going to be something wrong somewhere. You have to be able to speak up when you want to speak up and disagree. But if you do lose, you have to be able to man up and deal with your loss and go about your way the next day. You can't just reflect every day and cry about the bad times.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Whiteside, what attributes and behaviors do you believe are essential for school board members? I'll ask the question again. What attributes and behaviors do you believe are essential for school board members?
Well, I think it's important for a school board member to be able to think for himself and speak for himself, not to just be ran over by the status quo or what everybody else is doing, but to stand firm on his decision. And then whenever he has made his case, it is important for him to be able to continue to support the board and the district as a whole, and not hold grudges or wish that that everything would have come out his way. He's got to be able to stand firm on his decision, but at the same time be a support to the people around him. I think the biggest issue that a lot of the kids today have is that they don't feel like they have a strong support. They don't have enough love around them to be able to feel comfortable and grow from there. I think it's important that we teach our kids to be strong in their resolve and what they believe in. And I think that a school board member has to be somebody who understands that and is not going to back down just because what he believes isn't popular. And then whenever he's a part of a group, like I've been married for 22 years, I don't always get my way, but but at the same time, when it walks away, I'm in support of my family. I'm in support of my wife. We're going to go out and we're going to stand firm and not waver. And I think that's the way a school board member should act.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Drake, do you believe that teachers should have a greater input and voice in district decisions that impact their work and their students? If so, what would you support? I'll ask the question again. Do you believe that teachers should have a greater voice input in district decisions that impact their work and their students? If so, what would you support?
So I would first like to address the last two questions about the school board. So as a school board member in the last 8 years, I have been the only one that vote against the rest of the board. I can assure you that when I make a decision to vote, I can explain it to the community on why I voted for something or why I didn't vote for something. When I voted against the board, I had a lot of questions. Those that reached out to me and gave me the opportunity to explain to them why I voted no on this certain item understood it after I was able to explain why I was the only one on the board that voted no. To your question about the teachers having an input, every year, this past year, we sent out surveys to the teacher or to all the teachers to see where they are at and where they think the district is at as far as progressing, as far as district attitude, and different questions like that. The morale of the district is the survey that's sent out with several questions on it. We received a little over half of surveys back from the teachers and staff. Those surveys were calculated, and it was a little over 90% of the surveys that came back to the school district, came back to the board, were happy where the district was at, the atmosphere of the district, and the things and how things were progressing. So I feel good about that. That gave the teachers an opportunity to voice their opinion. Those opinions, those surveys that came back with the opinions that were voiced, were 90% of it was happy with where the district was at this time.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Pipes, allocation of financial resources is challenging when resources are limited. So what do you consider to be priorities for spending in the next 4 years? In other words, what do you see as priorities regarding financial expenditure? I'll ask the question again.
Okay.
Allocation of financial resources is challenging when resources are limited. What do you consider to be priorities for spending in the next 4 years? In other words, what do you see as priorities regarding financial expenditure?
I think that's a really great question, and honestly, I think that would be a great question for current board members. There's been some spending that's been questionable. So for those of us that are just running, you'll have to understand that we don't understand or know the decisions that have been made prior. To come back to that, though, I want to piggyback really quickly on Marty's comment about teacher surveys. So I don't believe that if I, as a teacher, checked in with my students once per year, the district would think that that was acceptable. So I think we need to check back on that and maybe rethink our strategies on how we value teacher input. A one-year survey is great, but depending on what time of year that's sent, if it's in May, you can just almost forget it. We're trying to get ready for testing and all kinds of other things. And so I think we should hold ourselves as accountable as we do our staff members. Back to the financial question. I'm going to be real honest about that. I feel like it's important that a board is well-rounded. And what I feel like I bring to the table is perspective. Perspective of someone that's been in the trenches, perspective of someone who understands what it's like to implement decisions made by the board. I'm really fortunate, and we all are, to have a banker that's on the school board. He personally is really wise and capable of making really good financial decisions. One thing that we all know we can agree on is that the most important thing in our school is student achievement. I think if we guide our spending and are conscious about our budget and keep that in the forefront of all of our decision making, then that will be helpful and successful, make us a successful board when it comes to financials.
1 minute.
I'm going to take that minute too, if you don't mind. I will tell you that to supply a classroom, it's expensive. And while, yes, we have done incredible with staff salary and we have very competitive benefits, we are not supplying our teachers with ample funds to supply what they need for their classrooms, and they are spending money out of their own pockets every year. So I do think some reworking of budgetary funds should be in the future. It should be on the table to discuss. And I'll be happy to I'm good at spending money, so I'll be happy to help with that.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Boyce, as has already been illustrated several times this evening, safety of our students is a great concern for parents in light of recent school shootings. What do you see as the board's role in ensuring student safety, and how would you see that play out? Let me ask the question again. Safety of our students is a great concern for parents in light of recent school shootings. What do you see as the board's role in ensuring student safety, and how would you like to see that play out?
Absolutely, safety is of most importance, especially what's happened over the last few years. I'm not going to pretend to be voiced in public protection or understanding how to protect a large group of people. I can understand from being on the board and trying to make a decision and listen to the people that do understand the way that works, and bringing in maybe somebody from outside the district to say, hey, this is what you've got, this is what I think we need, and implementing those solutions. As far as financial is trying to find something in the budget, and I'm not going to pretend I understand school finance. I haven't been in a meeting. I haven't been voiced in it, but finding those resources to get those things in place that we need to protect these kids, whether it's more officers, and I understand it's hard enough to hire officers as it is. I understand it's hard enough to find anybody to work in the public service, but whether that's finding somebody within your school that you can certify, whether that's finding a teacher that you can maybe qualify as a safety or a protection officer. I'm not going to open up to open carry or anything like that, but I think looking at all resources to protect our children, I don't think you can go wrong analyzing what you can do, whether it's an officer or a teacher, in funds. I believe. Do I have a minute?
Yes, sir. You have actually 1 minute and 24
All right.
seconds.
I'm gonna move to something else and then maybe go to safety. But this community is growing. In my line of work, I see families coming in from all over, different aspects, different places in the country. They're bringing here. They're starting their careers. They're starting families. Our district's changing. The diversity in our district's changing. The numbers are increasing, and with those numbers increases, I mean, the safety is one of them, but also our infrastructure, and that's looking down the road. And we built a beautiful high school, and there's plenty of room in it. I've worked in it. There's plenty of room for growth. But taking care of those facilities and taking care of those older facilities that we have, and being able to properly give our kids room to learn and not crowding classrooms and crowding hallways is something we need to look forward in the future, because Livingston is growing. You can drive down 190 and see it coming. And with that comes children, with that comes careers, with that comes families, and with that comes growth in our schools.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Grimm, how important is planning time for teachers in improving student learning? Do you think that teachers in our district have enough, too little, or too much planning time at the elementary, junior high, and high school level? I'll ask the question again. How important is planning time for teachers in improving student learning? Do you think that teachers in our district have enough, too little, or too much planning at the elementary, junior high, and high school level?
I guess kind of what everybody else did. Let me just touch on a couple of things. I think this is great, but every one of these topics that we're talking about, there's so much more depth to them. There's a good side, a bad side, a middle, and in between. So again, I encourage anybody to, reach out to me, anybody else running to fully understand, because people can sit up here and, if I have a weakness, it's probably, gloating on myself. I don't do that well, so it's easy to, but I want to dig through, get to the answers. So I'm very approachable for anybody who wants to dig. I mean, there's an hour conversation with every topic that we've had. So based on time, leading into the question is I do believe that teacher preparation is so important. And no, I don't think they have enough time in order to prepare. I think they are tasked daily with unrealistic goals that cannot be attained. I think that they are, they like to not get in trouble, so they do the check boxes. And I think maybe a more in-depth look at the individual teacher level preparation, should probably be looked at, because there's definitely not enough time, to prepare. Most preparation, being a husband to a teacher, most preparation is done on nights, weekends, holidays, hours on end, buying things for your classroom. So there is no preparation time in classroom.
1 minute.
In order to, have SRA a certain amount of time and this amount of time, teachers, schools trying to cut down lunchrooms to 10 minutes here, cut 5 minutes off of a recess, in order to prepare to do more of these things. So I guess this is a 3-hour conversation, but no, teachers do not have enough time to prepare.
Thank you, sir. Certainly, we understand for all of us that we could go all night, and so our goal is to keep our time limit. So thank you guys all for respecting that, and encourage everyone to please ask questions and continue dialogue after this event is over. We're now going to move to round 4. Once again, these questions will be asked to one candidate. You'll have 3 minutes to answer. And also, I'd like to remind, if you'd like to offer input on a question you're not asked, you will have time in round 5 to do so. Mr. Molman, we'll start with you. The question is, what role do you see the school system have in impacting a student's life beyond academics? What do you believe a successful LISD graduate looks like beyond the academic record? And what can the board do to help accomplish this? I'll ask the question again. What role do you see the school system have in impacting a student's life beyond academics? What do you believe a successful LISD graduate will look like beyond the academic record? And what can the board do to help accomplish this?
Well, beyond the academic part of it, you can see now in the community. I've had a couple local friends that after academics they went on to the military, beyond the academic world. The board's done a good job so far in the programs that don't just do academics, such as the welding, the wood shop, the ag classes, stuff like that, that help kids move on after the academic world. Every kid won't graduate and be a teacher or go to college and be a doctor. There'll be some besides academics in their world. I've got personal friends that went from here to graduated high school here. He went to welding, owned a welding business, and very successful. We could, after seeing this freshman year and my boy this year, there could be some improvements in the classes besides just academics here in Livingston this year. And last year, my other kids graduated. They've seen different slacks where they wasn't wood shop, welding, and so forth wasn't pushed as much as it could be pushed by the board. So there is some good changes that could be made there for beyond the academic world.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Whiteside, what is the role of schools in teaching children about topics outside normal education, such as sex education, cyber safety, and bullying? What is the role of schools in teaching children about topics outside the traditional environment, such as sex education, cyber safety, and bullying?
The role of the school district, I think, for teaching on a lot of that stuff should be putting more of a demand on the action versus consequences as far as in your classrooms. You know, we shouldn't. I don't believe that we shouldn't have to put up with a bunch of bullying, and we shouldn't have to put up with a bunch of attacks. But the fact is that we do live in that kind of a world where we do have to watch out for bullying, and we do have to watch out for people who are they're predators. They're just out to hurt our children and hurt people, whoever they can come in contact with. So as a board or as a district, I believe we have to learn how to keep our kids safe and giving them an opportunity to continue to learn. You know, encouraging at-home practices as far also as along with parent interactive in ways to keep everybody on a level playing field. That way that nobody feels like they've got to perform a certain way so that they can be accepted by a group. We need to just learn to keep our kids in a protected mindset, a safe mindset. That way that they can come and learn without having to feel like somebody's going to come after them and bully them, push them around, or and they can focus on learning, which is the primary goal, I think, for the district should be.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Drake, what is your perception of the current working and learning climate in our school district? Do you have any ideas of how to ensure a positive working and learning climate throughout LISD? I'll ask the question again. What is your perception of the current working and learning climate in our school district? Do you have any ideas on how to ensure a positive working and learning climate throughout LISD?
So, sorry about that. So, you know, I go back to the survey that was sent out. I very rarely am contacted by teachers or staff that will tell me how the day's going or how the year is going or anything else. So I'll go back to the survey that was sent out where, like I said, we received over 50% of those back that's saying that the 90% the district was in a good situation and where it needed to be. I'd like to go back to what Mr. Moman was talking about pushing the kids towards welding and more career in tech. I'd like to speak on that for a minute. You know, last year there was 40 certifications handed out in career and technology. There were over 300 other certifications handed out last year also, from LVNs to CNAs different welding certificates that people or that students had gotten. This year, at the first part of the year, we had over 200 kids enrolled in welding at the Livingston High School. I don't know what Mr. Whiteside's question about the online bullying. Yes, absolutely, we have a responsibility to educate students on online bullying. Now, with student safety, if a kid is bullying another online and makes the wrong statement, it could be considered a terroristic threat. If you make any type of statement to the kid that you're going to shoot him at school tomorrow or bring a gun to school tomorrow, the police department's notified. We start running that down, and that kid, after the investigation, if it's a legitimate complaint, will be arrested and removed from campus. So the school bullying, the cyber bullying, the teachers have been trained in cyber. They have taken cyber awareness certification. The board had to take the certification. I had to take it at the police department. So I believe we do have a responsibility in that aspect also.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Pipes, what are your thoughts on LISD's programs for special education students, English language learning, and gifted and talented students? I'll ask the question again. What are your thoughts on LISD's programs for special education students, English language learning, and gifted and talented students?
I think that as a district, we're doing the best we can with the resources we have right now available to us to serve these students, but we're not doing enough. There are several days where I had special ed students that didn't get what they needed. There were several days where I had ESL students that weren't being pulled for their servicing. That was one of the issues that I had to fight for, and actually one that I have documented is on my platform. I feel like we have to prioritize our English language learners because they make up over 25% of our student population. They are also expected to take academic readiness tests in English. Many of them come from solely Spanish-speaking homes. We have to consistently, with high quality, meet their needs. As far as the Gifted and Talented program goes, I touched on this earlier. At our school last year, it was basically non-existent. My sister and I volunteered our time to get servicing to the gifted and talented students in 1st through 3rd grade. We held a science fair where they did a science fair project on a project of their choosing, as well as the community-wide Christmas card contest that we held at our campus. Those were all done during our volunteer time with no additional pay. To go back to the teacher survey, I think that we have an issue that's greater than a national shortage, which is happening. There's a national teacher shortage. But we've got something that's a secondary issue in Livingston. We have teachers that are not leaving the profession, they're just leaving the district. They're moving to districts that are surrounding our district. Why is that? We're kicking tail at pay.
1 minute.
100% knocking it out of the ballpark. Very competitive salaries. What's the other things that we're missing? On a TEA website, for 2020-2021 school year, Livingston ISD had a 20.8% teacher turnover rate, where the state average is at a 14.3%. When a recent survey conducted by TEA, teachers reported challenges such as working conditions and training, as well as pay. I believe we need to re-examine the strategies that we use to retain and train highly qualified educators, especially those that have experience. Research has shown more experienced staff means more student achievement. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Boyce, what particular life experiences or skills have prepared you to serve as a board member? What particular life experiences or skills have prepared you to serve as a board member?
Oh, that's you guys had some challenging ones. I was holding my breath. Okay.
Random draw, my friend.
I'm not going to act like I'm not in the classroom. You know, I don't know anything about safety. You know, I love these kids, and that's why I'm doing this. This is my thankless job, as some people would say. And you're going to ask me about the Teeks, or you're going to ask me about our safety or anything like that. I mean, I'm here because I care about these kids, and I love this community, and I want to serve. And I'll make the best decision that I can. And I'll listen. I'm not going to act like a know-it-all, and I've got many mentors in town, and I go to them all the time. And I found that to be the most successful way to come to a decision, is to hear others, whether you agree or disagree. All right, to your question. I've served on several boards since I've been back in Livingston. Most recently, I've been a Rotary member for the last 7 years. I've been president of that Rotary Club. I had to come in early in December, so I'm actually going to serve 2 years. I've got a year to go. But it's been a great experience. I come every Thursday with a great group of people that have a whole lot of different ways of seeing things, a whole lot of different ways, the way we should spend money, a whole lot of different ways on what kind of people we should help. And, every Thursday I get up there and talk to all of them and look them in the face and hear all their plans and take their emails and take their calls. And I thought when I first signed up for that job, well, I didn't sign up, but when I first got nominated for that job, I thought, okay, I'm just going to come on Thursday. We're going to have lunch. I'll say my piece, tell a joke, we'll say the pledges, and we're out. No, I get emails every day. I get phone calls every day. I see a couple Rotarians in the crowd, and I think you understand that dynamic. And it's really taught me that, hey, man, this is something that's important, and it takes your effort. And it takes you, if you don't know the answer, going and finding an answer and giving a response to somebody. And it's okay if you don't have an answer. Serving on the board at Boys and Girls Clubs the same way. I don't have as much of an impact leadership position on that board. I'm an open ear and an open mind, make decisions that best serve kids. And I don't know what the questions are gonna come after this, but where my heart's at, and my heart's here in this community, and it's with these kids. And I wouldn't be up here and putting myself in front of all you guys and in front of the stream and put myself in the public eye if I didn't believe I couldn't make a difference and didn't want to make a difference.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Grimm, student retention is an ongoing concern. What do you see as the best ways to ensure that students go to class and ultimately graduate? Student retention is an ongoing concern. What do you see as the best ways to ensure that students go to class and ultimately graduate?
In order to keep kids in class, kind of what we've said multiple times up here, is it definitely helps for them to know who their teachers are, who their second grade teacher is going to be, who their third grade teacher is going to be. So definitely teacher retention, I do believe, will help kid retention. And I touched on this a little bit earlier, on teaching kids opportunities to dream. I know the school district, I know we have robotics clubs and things like that are all great. I do think we maybe need to do a head count on the types of teachers we have. I think so many of our kids who are in science class, history class, math class, they're being taught by people who have no interest in math, science, or history. Whether that's a person that's here on a stepping stone or it's a coach that we're trying to just fill a spot with. I don't know how many coaches we have at the high school. Probably more than most colleges. And they're looking for places to put them, and I think they're being thrown into the junior high. I think there needs to be more resources at our junior high level. I believe when we're trying to save kids at the high school level, they're already gone. We're cutting expenses at the junior high level, like I've heard from teachers on student council. 120 kids try out for student council, and they only take 20 because they can't afford an additional teacher to help those kids. But yet my kid goes to math class, the very next thing being taught by a coach. I think it's hard to want to be an astronaut when your science teacher's a coach. I think that's one avenue that we can probably help. Again, you know who your next year's teacher is going to be.
1 minute.
I think just teach them to dream. I really think if you teach them to dream and show them what's out there, they're going to learn what they have to learn in order to accomplish that dream. I don't think we can shove math down their throat by somebody who doesn't want to be there and then hope they're going to be a mathematician.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Wooten, what role do fine, applied, and technical arts play in the education of our students? Do you think our district currently provides enough support for those classes? Is it important to educate the whole child or focus more on academics and basic skills? Asking the question again. What role do the fine, applied, and technical arts play in the education of our students? Do you think our district currently provides enough support for those classes? Is it important to educate for the whole child or focus more on academics and basic skills?
Well, I think I'll start with the last question first, that it is absolutely necessary to educate the whole child. Because, I mean, you can teach a child to just repeat back things that you tell them, but how they can apply it to the real world, how they can interact emotionally and with their fellow students and with their teachers, how to show them to be respectful, all those things. That's educating the whole child. And that's the number one goal of all teachers, I believe. And I think all teachers really work really hard at what they do. As far as the fine arts and the applied sciences and the other aspects of educational opportunities, absolutely. We do what we can with what we have, though. And there's not a bottomless pot of money out there to do everything we want to do, and that's the real minutia that we get into in a board meeting and with the superintendent and administrators is how do you spend this money, this limited amount, where when you have all these wonderful things you want to do, you want every kid to have every opportunity that they want, but it is just unrealistic to be able to give them all everything they want. Hard choices have to be made, and some of them are going to make some people unhappy. And of course, and one thing you learn, two things I've learned on the board: when you step in, you don't know what you don't know, and second, you're never going to please everybody. So what we try to do, and I think what the goal is to do what we can best for the most. And of course, like I said, trying our best to give every child a chance to pursue their dream as best they can within the resources that we have. It's hard, it's difficult, but it's part of the job of a board member, and it's part of the job of the administration to try to make it as equitable and as fair as we possibly can.
Thank you, sir. Each candidate will now have an opportunity to offer a closing statement. You may use this time to summarize points that you have already made or to offer input on a question that another candidate was asked. You will have up to 5 minutes in this final portion. Mr. Whiteside, we will begin with you.
As I'm listening to the rest of these candidates, there's a lot of good points. They have a lot of good knowledge. I'm not sure any of them would really fall on the fall down on the job of being a board member. Most of them have graduated through this district. Most of them have a lot of long list of qualifications, and I keep thinking about it, and I said, I really think we really need to come down to what we believe is, as an individual, is going to help our kids. It's not about how many, it's not always all about how are we going to stop everybody else from doing all these bad things. I know it's out there and it's coming, but we really need to focus on our kids. And that's what I believe I'm here for, is I want to focus on my kids. And I know the parents out there, that's what they want to continue to do, is to build a better place for their kids than what they had to begin with. And I think that's why we're here, and I think we need to vote our conscience this election. I think we need to know, not outwardly or what everybody else is doing. I think we need to push what we know inside we should do. And I think we know that we need to to focus on our kids and see them grow up. I want to see every single one of my kids stand on my shoulders and have more opportunities than I had, and to go beyond my limitations. Um, and I was listening to some of the other questions, thinking, man, I'm glad I didn't get that question. And then I was listening to the other questions, and I thought, man, that would have been a good one to ask, because, like, financial questions. What do we want to do with the financial part of the district? And truth is, I've never been involved in it, so I'm not sure exactly what penny goes to where everywhere is going to go. But I do know this: the focus of the district and the focus of the board should be our children. It should be our children, and it should be our children, not something, not something that's going to give us a leg up or make us look better on stage. It should be something that we want to use to enforce a better tomorrow. And if there's any other things that come across, we're going to vote according to what we believe is going to do better for our kids. And I think that's where we need to stay as a district. As far as where we've come from in Livingston, there's been a lot of negative things said about the schools, but we're not where we used to be. We're getting better. We're growing. Like one of them said, I forget which one said, talked about how the growth of this district is just phenomenal. Well, we're going to continue to grow. I'm not sure where our limit's going to be, and it's going to create more issues and more things that we're going to have to focus on, more things that are going to cause more problems. And I believe that as long as we have people on the board willing to stand strong on what they know what's right to do, not for themselves, not for the popularity, but for our children, and we are going to continue to grow, and it is going to be a simple thing to double or triple the size of this district, not because everybody else is doing it this way, but because it is right for our kids. And I believe that's where we should all stand.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Drake.
Okay, thank you. Once again, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I hope that, like when I first began, that after it's all over with, I hope that I've earned your vote tonight. One thing that has always been on my mind, the 8 years I've been on the school board and the 20 years that I've been in law enforcement, 26 years I've been in law enforcement, and the 12 years I spent in Livingston ISD as a school-based officer, is student safety, keeping the students and the staff safe. It has always been on my mind. What could I do? When I was in the school officer, I did active shooter training for the teachers. I did bomb threat training, evacuation drills. We developed a green and red card program. I've always looked for other ways to ensure student safety and staff safety in case something happens. It's been something that I've always done. I took that into the community. I've been at banks and teaching active shooter programs at banks. I've been to Chico teaching active shooter programs. How to evacuate, what to do, what not to do, where to hide, turn your cell phone off. I know about school safety. And unfortunately, school safety is never at the height that it is right now. School safety is at the height that it is right now because of what's happened in the last year or 2 years, what happened at Robb Elementary. In time, school safety for the community will go back down because people will start forgetting about what's happened and a tragedy hadn't happened at another district. In those times where the community would go back down, I stayed up high asking for more cameras at the school, talking with our technology director, Kip, talking with Dr. Hawkins, what can we do to get more cameras, what can we do to get more police officers. I never quit keeping students and staff safety at a high level on my position at the board or my position at Livingston Police Department. We've trained our officers in alert training. All of the officers have been trained, whether it's Livingston PD, Polk County Sheriff's Department, or DPS, have been through the same training, so those officers can go in and know what each one is going to do because they've all had the same training. I've assisted the Chief of Police in the last year updating our emergency preparedness plan, which is a response book on active shooter situations, not only to the school but to other businesses in the community on what to do and how the operation is going to go. I know how to keep your kids safe in school. I hope I'm given the opportunity to continue to lead the safety program, to continue to put my advice or give my advice to Dr. Hawkins, to meet with Mr. Kipp, our technology director that's steadily working on different safeties as far as door locks and proximity keys and things to keep our students and staff safe. Once again, I'm Marty Drake. I'm number 6 on the ballot. I would appreciate your vote, and I need your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Pipes.
Okay, I have a couple add-ons to a few topics. I'm going to start off with safety as well. It's really everyone's first concern. It's everyone's first priority. We do a great job here at Livingston ISD. There are several routines, procedures, drills. You just heard Marty speak on those. I feel like we also need to think about what else can we do. Maybe provide some intentional time to collaborate with our staff members, identify gaps, reinforce issues. I promise you, your faculty, they know where the weak parts are in the school. They walk those halls every day. Research. Can we seek out some new technologies? We don't have to reinvent the wheel here. What are other schools doing? Are there new things that are out there that we could implement that we don't know of yet? Possibly could we include the parents in this process? I'll tell you, as a mom, there's nothing more scary than wondering if your child's okay. We do a great job, and Dr. Hawkins did just recently, sending out blasts to the parents, and that's fantastic. But what about possibly during drills? Could we update them on the drills we've done that month? How quickly did we evacuate? Are we making progress? Just some ideas for some alternative ideas for new ideas for us to do. As far as teacher retention, I loved what Andrew said about, knowing who you're going to have for history in 10th grade, knowing who you're going to have for English. I knew a long time I was going to have Mr. Helm, and I couldn't wait to get into Mr. Helm's class because I wanted to paint that ceiling tile and hang it in the classroom. We don't have very many Mr. Helms anymore. Over 55% of our teachers have less than 10 years of experience per 2021 and 2020 DEA educational data. We need those Mr. Helms back, right? We need to keep some teachers that are veterans that have been in this district for a long time. That's how we're going to increase our student achievement. As far as the buy-in, so one of them touched on this a little bit as well. I feel like we have done a tremendous job. Our high school is incredible. It is filled with opportunities. How can we transfer some of those down into that K through 8 area? How can we get some more fun back in schools in the elementary area? What kind of funds can we allocate to bring in things that we, dinosaur fossils or just outside vendors, bringing back some educational fun into those lower age groups to get them to buy in and to love learning. If you don't do that when they're young, you've lost them by 6th grade. Like we said, trying to recap them or recoup them at the high school level is a losing battle. Lastly, I just want to talk a little bit about me. As you can probably tell, I'm very passionate about public schooling. I'm very passionate about children. I'm very interested, and I do a lot of research. I want to know what we're supposed to be doing. I want to know what other schools are doing. I want to know what's best for our kids. Your kid, my kid, the kid down the road, all of our children. I'm a leader. And sometimes leading is not about doing what's easy. And it's not about doing what's familiar or what we've always done. It's about thinking of innovative ways to solve problems, working together collaboratively, making changes, doing something new. Okay? I also humbly ask for your vote on November 8th. I want to bring my perspective as an educator, as a parent, as a property taxpayer and as a longtime Livingston resident to serve you and your children on the school board.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Boyce.
I love what Kevin said. He said, you don't know what you don't know, and that's the truth. And you can go and find those answers, and if you don't have them right now, you can find people that you can go to on the board or in the schools or in the classrooms and try to get that information. Like I said before, you know, I'm not going to come up here and pretend like I'm a safety officer or I know the perfect TEKS or I know the answer to teacher planning. I can tell you that I'm passionate about this place. I'm passionate about LISD. It's where I came up. It's where I grew up. There's people I talk to that were my teachers and my coaches that I talk to every day. You know, they've moved on to other districts or maybe they're still here or they've retired and I see them in the grocery store. And that, you know, and that's the kind of environment that we want to have here. You know, we want teachers that retire here, that work here, that they see their kids and they see the job that they've done, the job that they've done, and they see these kids out in the environment, and we've got to give those teachers that opportunity to stay here. I mean, I feel, you know, I came to Livingston because I want to live here, and I feel like everybody should feel like they want to live here. That's not always the case, but we could give them a reason to stay here, and it's not always just throwing money in a bucket or you know, retention bonuses. Those are great things, and sure, if you counted up all the hours that teachers work, they make a nickel an hour. I mean, when I was in education and all the coaches that I had, you know, we were at the field house 90 hours a week. Is that a little ridiculous? Probably so. But if, you know, coaches still do it, and the reason they do it is because they love your kids. And the reason the teachers are up there on Sundays making coffees is because they love your kids. And I feel the same way, and I feel passionate about those guys and passionate about your kids. And as a dad, I'm passionate about my kids, selfishly. You know, I want to be a part of this because I want to be a part of my children's education. You know, I want to be a part of your children's education. You know, and we want these kids to, when they get out of school, we talked about the percentages earlier, you know, 60% in the state, these kids are college ready, or they're going to the military, or they've got a career ahead of them. Here in Livingston, we're a little behind. We're at 35%. You know, and I know the board is doing what they feel they need to do to get these kids educated and trained, and I agree it's on the right path. And and I'm not up here because I disagree entirely with everything that's going on. I feel like it's my civil duty and my turn to do what I'm supposed to do. And, you know, and I ask for your vote and your confidence, and know that I'll make the best decision I can for these kids, and I'm invested in it, and I want an educated Livingston. I'm number one on the ballot, and I appreciate your vote.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Grimm.
Yeah, you know, and I'll say the same thing. You know, I've been on numerous boards, you know, and I'm open-minded enough to know that, you know, sometimes, you know, what's on the outside is not actually what's happening on the inside. So I'm not here to you know, criticize anything that the board has done thus far. I think I have a unique leadership that I can provide the board throughout my life, and the things that I've been able to do and accomplish, that I can help move forward. I too feel like it's a civil duty to help educate the people in your community. You know, I'm not as a man of many words or fancy talk, but, you know, to me, you know, being in the Marines, winning does not take money. You know, I think you bring up Mr. Helm, and he was a great teacher. I would think that Mr. Helm could teach you what he wanted to teach you without any money. So winning doesn't take money. It takes leadership. It takes effort. If we don't have the money for security, then we stand a post. If we don't have money to mow a baseball field, then we mow the baseball field. That's how in touch I am with our community. Is I don't want to be a guy just to make the decision. I want to be the guy to fill the gap of where we can't provide. And it doesn't matter if it's mowing a field or teaching a history class. I mean, that's where I'm at. I believe I'm uniquely qualified in the leadership that I've been able to have in my life. I'm number 2 on the ballot, and I do appreciate your vote.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Wooten.
Thank you. I'm number 3 on the ballot, and I would also appreciate your vote. I'm just going to close with just reinforcing the fact that I truly believe that everybody on the board and everybody at this table believes the kids come first, and anybody that gets on the board and serves on the board will do their very best to make sure that happens. I do know that the current board makeup, the people I've worked with for the last 4 years, including some that aren't running again, and of course we're going to have 2 new people on the board at minimum. We work really well as a group. We work really well with Dr. Hawkins. We work really well with the administration, and we do everything we can as a team. And that's what's required, and that's something that is, I don't want to say missing in our society, where we can work together and come to compromises and get on the same page, even though we may disagree. But I think we do that very well on the board, and I would hope that continues. I would like to be part of that as it continues, and I have no doubt that all the new people that join will become part of that collaborative effort to make sure that we do everything we can to give the best opportunities and the most opportunities for our kids. I'm third on the ballot, and I appreciate your vote to serve another term. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Molman.
Today I was stopped in town and said, "Do you know everything the school board does?" I ain't gonna lie to nobody here. No. Have no idea what all the school board does. But being able to learn and willing to learn is what everybody up here wants to do, including myself. 8 years ago, I took over as a fire chief in a little fire department. We've came a long ways in 8 years. We've all learned to adapt to the new terms and what it actually takes to do that. It's the same thing on the school board. Nobody knows everything up here, but we all agree that the student safety is one of the most important things, and so is the teachers' retention. Y'all have noticed the different conversations all resulted back to student safety and teacher retention. The only thing that I'd like to see that wasn't mentioned much today is more communication between the administration and the families and the parents in the community. Sometimes you reach out for questions, you can't get answers. Some people's left on mute or don't reply or don't answer, from the administration all the way down to the teachers. So I would like to see our community and our school board get back together and work together as a goal to help better educate all of our teachers, our kids and teachers in the community.
Thank you. This concludes tonight's program. I want to thank each of you candidates for your time and also for your willingness to serve. It is very evident we have passionate, qualified people who want to serve our children. We also want to thank you in attendance tonight, both in person and virtually. And please don't forget to vote. Our kids deserve it. Good night, everybody.